What up, y'all? Welcome to PopDotComix. I'm JoJo coming at you from the Woman Cave in Vegas. Nope, it's not an unboxing. I know, right? Crazy. I know it's been a minute since I've done a movie review, but guess what we're doing today? Captain America Civil War movie review. Oh yeah. I know it's been a while, but you know, I want to get back into it. It's just been kind of crazy at work, and then the little time I do have, I've been doing unboxings because those, you know, are pretty consistent and I got to keep up with it. So yeah, but you know, I want this channel to be more than unboxing. So yeah, movie reviews are something I love to do. So yeah, let's get started with this Captain America one. A while ago, I created a new rating system for movies that I feel like works pretty well, so I'm going to continue with it. Basically, I just use 3 different categories. One being, how's this movie as a film? Like, is it a work of art? You know, did the director use certain crazy filmic techniques to get his point across? How does music affect certain scenes? And did certain scenes, certain performances impact you, and if so, like how? And you know, it's basically just when a movie goes deeper than your superficial just storyline and superficial characters. So yeah, once we go through that, we can figure out on a scale of 1 to 10 where it stands as a film, and then I move on to the next category, and that is flick. And with flick, you know, flick you don't have to take as seriously. It's more like, did you have fun with it? Could you connect to the characters? Did you care to follow them throughout the whole movie? Or did you like space out in the middle and just want to leave the theater, you know? It's more of a basic, like, superficial judgment of a movie, and you know, it's like the typical popcorn flick, and whether it can stand up as at least a flick, right? So, and then I, you know, grade that as well on a 1 to 10 scale. And then I move on to FLAVA. And that's basically my personal opinion because, you know, just because I'm saying it's a 9 out of 10 film doesn't necessarily mean that I like the movie. It means that it's a great film, but it's not my cup of tea type of thing. So, you know, sometimes that'll happen, you know, just because it's a good movie doesn't mean I'll watch it again. So yeah, FLAVA, basically, it's according to my own taste buds, would I recommend it, that type of thing. Alright, let's get started with the first category of film. So when I think of Captain America and how I felt watching that movie, I gotta say, it wasn't a great work of art in my opinion. I felt it was, you know, very commercial, which is to be expected. I mean, it's a huge blockbuster and they want to cater to the masses and all that. So, you know, really, how deep are you going to go with that? They're superheroes. It's an action-packed movie, but in terms of filmic, like, value, I don't think there was too much. There were some filmic aspects about it, I guess you could say, but I guess one being that it was semi like allegorical, especially with all the political controversy that was going on between Captain America and Iron Man. You know, you could definitely relate that to something like the Patriot Act and what was going down with 9/11 back in the day. So yeah, and you know, it's very relevant even today. So yeah, in terms of that type of political comment, sure, that it's definitely something that you could interpret as, you know, an allegory, and that is a film equality for sure. I'll definitely give it that. Moving on to like actor performances and whether they were standout or anything like that, or whether they affected the film as a whole to me, or whether they left an impact with me, you know, just made a scene really great or anything like that. I didn't, there wasn't any real memorable performance to me that changed changed the movie to me at all. They kind of just went with the flow, and you know, they just kept, I mean, they kept the pace of the movie pretty well, but if anything, I would say the comedic relief, the comic relief was pretty good throughout. Like the pacing of that was cool. And that, you know, just to evoke like a reaction from myself, like to make me laugh and giggle at times, that's pretty cool. And it is definitely something that not every actor can do. Not, you know, a lot of times you'll see actors, you know, make a joke or whatever and it'll fall flat. But these actors seem to hit their timing pretty well when it came to just small moments. Like when Falcon and Bucky were sitting in the buggy car and there wasn't enough room and they started bickering. Like that was funny. I remember there were moments with Ant-Man too that were pretty funny. And they felt natural, you know, and that's what's really cool, especially for an ensemble cast. It's really nice, and you can see the chemistry between each of the characters. But in terms of like an actual performance that really stood out, they were all pretty, they're all pretty flat to me. Like it was like we already had an idea of who these characters are, so there was no real development, in my opinion, throughout. It was like they jumped into it. They jumped into the movie having already experienced certain things in the other previous movies. So basically what I'm saying is there was a character development, but throughout the series of movies, not in this particular film, like, or movie. So I guess that's why I kind of struggled to really care too much about any of the characters, to be honest. I did think that the dynamic between Iron Man and Captain America was interesting. But again, it wasn't in the film that we saw, you know, them grow really. It's kind of like they both had their own ideas and they weren't going to back down. And that's really how it was until the end of the movie. And especially, yeah, and it went up to the last scene pretty much. And I don't know how I felt about that. It was hard for me to get fully invested into the characters, and I just have a hard time with this, even with Avengers, the first one and the second one. Anytime they have all those characters together, so yeah, a lot of those types of movies fall flat for me, and that's because there's too many characters, and I feel like when they try to jam so many characters, you know, it's less about the hero's journey and more about the group as a collective whole, but then it starts getting real messy in the screenwriting because they're just trying to squeeze everyone in to a limited amount of time of screen time. So, you know, I just prefer standalone movies a lot more. And what's crazy is this was technically a Captain America movie. It was supposed to be a standalone movie. But no, they had to bring everyone and their mama in. And like, I don't know. Once you do that, it's like you might as well just call it Avengers 3. Like, come on. It even starts like right after that too. Right after the second one. Yeah, not too happy about that. Music wise, I don't think the music's too great, guys. I feel like there's no real memorable theme. if you were like, oh, do you know, can you hum Captain America's theme right now? No. Can you hum, I don't know, what's that? What was the villain's name? Zemo? Can you hum Zemo's main theme? No, you can't, because that character sucks. Alright, I'm not gonna get into that yet. But no, you can't, because the music was just not so great. Like, you know, it worked, don't get me wrong, like it was okay. Like, you know, certain action scenes, music always helps elevate the mood of suspense, you know, but I just wish that I wish that, you know, it was like Star Wars, whenever Kylo Ren comes in to any scene, like, you know the music, you know. So I just wish this movie had that as well, and that also affects how you interpret the film as a whole, you know. It affects you and your reaction towards it. So when that's mediocre, then your experience is going to be mediocre. It's just, that's just how it is, you know. So that could have been better, I feel. In terms of the directors, the Russo brothers, I feel like they did a lot better with The Winter Soldier, and I don't know if it's because of what I mentioned before, where, you know, they didn't have to share screen time with anyone. It was just a Captain America movie. The only one was Black Widow, but she complimented him so well. I loved that dynamic. I love that movie. It was such an awesome, like, spy thriller / action movie. Like, that's probably one of my favorite, or probably my favorite Marvel movie. And then I compare it to this one, and this one just felt more of like a popcorn flick, summer blockbuster, you know, just, it was fun, but it didn't feel, that's about as far as it went. Like, it was pretty superficial, definitely meant for a wide range of demographics, just meant for everyone to kind of like. And, you know, the only part that really felt less like generic was the part where Tony Stark finds out his parents, or how his parents died. That was a little dark, and it went grim pretty quick. And yeah, I'll definitely touch more on that a little later. But all in all, I'd have to say this isn't that great of a film, and I honestly don't understand why it's getting such great raving reviews. Don't get me wrong, it's not awful, it's just not as great as I've heard others talk about it. And I mean, this is just my opinion. You know, take it with a grain of salt. You know, film is always subjective, so you think what you want, and you could always leave it in the comments if you want. But I don't know, I didn't think there was anything outstanding for me to consider it a film or a work of art or anything like that. There were no outstanding performances, and the actors were not on their A game, I wouldn't say. The music didn't affect me really in any way. It's not very memorable. I felt like the Russo brothers did a lot better with The Winter Soldier, and because that movie did evoke a lot for me, and this one I just could not get into the characters. So that tells me there was some screenwriting issues, I think, in terms of the development of all the characters. I just didn't feel like there was a development, really. Like I said before, the development is between movies instead of during the movie, and that's a problem for me. You know, I like my hero's journey. I like seeing them, you know, go through these obstacles and grow ultimately. And yeah, so And also, yeah, a problem with screenwriting when the whole first act is really freaking boring. I did not like the entire first half of the movie. That first action scene that we see felt very fake to me. It took me out a lot because especially when Black Widow was fighting, I could totally tell that was a stunt double. It did not look anything like her. And I was like, come on guys, like that's super obvious. Like totally different like body type too. It took me out hardcore. And a lot of it just, there were certain scenes that really felt like they were green screen. Like it just looked too fake, like some of the movements and stuff. I was not a fan of the whole handy cam type of look where it just makes you kind of nauseous after a while. I get that it's action and they want to make it feel realistic, but that's really not the type of camera work that I would use there. I just don't know. It just felt kind of Jason Bourne a little bit, but I also did not like it in Jason Bourne, so that's just my personal preference. Yeah, it's, I'm glad that they only used it for that part though, because the later action scenes were cool, but this first action scene, did not like it. Did not like how they killed, sorry, I'm going on and on. I need to get into the next category. So yeah, as a film, I can't grade this super high because really the only filmic quality that really stands out to me is the whole Sokovia Accord thing, and whether, you know, the controversy of whether or who was signing it and who wasn't, and you know, you can definitely relate that to events happening today, or like I mentioned earlier, the Patriot Act, and you know what happened with 9/11. And that's really cool that they added that into the movie, and definitely represented it, like Captain America represented civil rights and Tony Stark represented national security. So it was, you know, in that way it's pretty metaphorical. So that's pretty cool. I like that about it. But other than that, like, I can't really think of much else that would make me call this a great film. You know, actors' performances weren't super top notch. They were okay. Music was meh. There are problems with screenwriting and trying to fit all those characters in. I thought the first whole act was a snooze fest. So there are definitely some not so great choices, I would say, in the screenwriting. You know, as the movie went along, it got better and better, I thought, but I don't know, I thought it was kind of a rough start. So as a film, I would rate this at a 6.5 out of 10, and I feel pretty good with that number. It wasn't awful, but it wasn't great. It was somewhere in the middle, and, you know, I think considering that it is a superhero movie, I don't expect to even get some kind of political comment out of it, so it was kind of an extra added bonus to, you know, be able to interpret some of those things and relate them to current events. So that was pretty cool. Okay, so moving on to the flick category, I do have to say that it was a little slow in the beginning, which I already mentioned, because to me that's a problem with some screenwriting, but yeah, it was a little hard to get into at first, especially when you kill off Crossbones like that. Jeez, like, why even bother putting him in the movie? So, yeah, that was a little, it caught me off guard, and I do feel like the movie did progress later, like as it went on. I did become a little more invested with the characters, but it was just kind of hard to, especially when certain things happened, especially with Captain America's character specifically. I felt like there were some inconsistencies. like, I couldn't believe that they had a romantic thing go on with Peggy Carter's niece and him. Like, that was a little ancestral to me. I don't know. It just left a bitter taste in my mouth. That was kind of weird. And come on, like, what were they smoking when they decided that the best way to notify Captain America that Peggy had passed away is via text? Like, in what world is that the best way to tell someone something like that? And why would you write that into a script? Like, that's terrible. That's just like lazy writing right there too. So I did not like that. I didn't like, because she's supposed to be like a huge part of his life, right? Like, you know, in the previous movies, you're so invested in him, and, you know, yes, he has to let go at some point, but God, they could have given her like a better like sending off point or something. I did not like how they did that. And again, I didn't like how he ended up with the niece. That's gross. It just felt forced too. Like, it just didn't feel like that's something Captain America would do. But it was like the screenwriters were like, okay, how can we make him, you know, have this love interest? Okay, which girl is available, you know? So that was the direct go-to. She's a throwaway character to me. I don't care about that at all. And yeah, when that kind of thing happens, it's like I start to not care about Captain America, because it's like, you know, well, I liked you in your first two movies. I was Team Cap all the way, and now I feel like, why is this your movie? But I'm feeling like I'm Team Iron Man at this point. Like, it was weird. My opinion swapped, and I think that's because the two characters, the main characters, Tony Stark and Captain America, they do swap. In the first two Captain America movies, Captain America is like this Boy Scout, all-American kid, and, you know, proud of his nation and all that. But by the time, you know, certain incidents happen and we get to the Civil War movie, he's rebellious because what he has experienced with S.H.I.E.L.D. and betrayal. So yeah, his character flips and he is no longer this goody-goody two-shoes, right? Instead, he's like against the man and this like rebel, and, you know, he doesn't want to sign the Accords and all that, and he wants to stick up for his rights, and, you know, he doesn't trust anyone, really. And so Tony Stark, on the other hand, he used to be the rebellious one, causing all the trouble, and, you know, basically created Ultron in the Avenger movie. So, you know, there's all of that. And now, because of a guilt trip, and things are catching up to him, and his wife doesn't want to be with him anymore, he's feeling like he has to change his ways, and now, you know, he is the goody one that wants to sign the Accords and all that. So it's an interesting character swap, and that's why I used to be on Team Cap, and now after watching this movie, I'm Team Iron Man. So I don't know. I don't know whether I liked that or not, because it's a Captain America movie. So I didn't feel much of a connection with Captain America. I felt like it was more of an Iron Man movie, and then later in the movie I felt like it was more of an Avengers movie. It was like anything but a Captain America movie. So I don't know if that was just me, but it is what it is. And throughout the movie, I mean, it's watchable. The villain was terrible too. God, there were so many things in his plan that had to happen so perfectly for him to even accomplish what he set out to do. And to me, it was just extremely far-fetched and really hard to believe. And that's the problem. If you want to set these superhero movies in the real world, it has to be somewhat believable. And I just didn't feel like his character and everything he set out to do was very believable at all. I don't believe that the superheroes would fall for his little traps. And don't even get me started with the video. Like, the fact that there is even a camera pointing directly at the same angle that Bucky kills Tony Stark's parents, like, really? And how does Zemo dude get a hold of this video? And he just happens to play it when he thinks that Tony Stark and Captain America and Bucky might waltz in. Just happens to leave the door open. Like, I don't know, there were a lot of little things like that where it was just, I had to keep telling myself, okay, it's just a superhero movie, like, it's fine, you know, things like this happen in comic books all the time. That's the thing, I don't want to compare it to a comic book. It's a totally different medium. I shouldn't have to compare it. So this is supposed to be in the real world. And I do have a willing suspension of disbelief, but I guess I just really want a more threatening villain. And I don't know, this villain Zemo, he just felt very secondary to me, and I want a real villain, you know? And I think that's what Marvel has been lacking lately, is a real villain. And so when I take all these things into consideration, I feel like the movie is watchable, and it's definitely fun more towards the second half. So yeah, ultimately it was fun. I thought it was going to be a lot better than it was, but you know, I thought I was going to have more fun with it. But it was okay. Like, I'm not saying that it was awful and, you know, I just wanted to walk out. But it was cool. It was cool. I've had more fun this year, specifically with movies with like Deadpool. Like, I had a lot more fun with something like that. And that's a movie I would give a higher score to in the flick category. But for this one, I feel comfortable with giving it a 7 if I'm rating it as a flick, because it was good and I had fun, but it could have been better and it could have been more fun. You see what I'm saying? So, yeah. Alright. And the next category is FLAVA. Although it was a cool flick, I wasn't too impressed with it. I was expecting more. Would I watch it again? Probably, but I wouldn't go out and buy it. If it was on TV, I would watch it. Yeah, I definitely think it was a downgrade from the other Captain America movies, which were excellent. Would I recommend it? Honestly, no. If anything, just watch the airport scene and you'll be good. Yeah, really. Because even the scene with Captain America versus Iron Man, I just felt was... that one scene when they're like pushing each other and they're like going against each other was cool, but ultimately I just didn't really care for it. Yeah, also there were parts, I forgot to mention, there were parts of the movie where they're going at it, like all the different superheroes, you know, they're on their either Team Cap or Team Iron Man. When they're going at it, it's like the stakes aren't really that high. Like, why would you bring a young Spider-Man into the mix. He's like 15 or something. If there was really danger, would you really bring him in? Like, that was another thing that bothered me. It's like, why are you guys fighting if, like, Black Widow couldn't even make up her mind? It didn't feel serious when they were fighting against each other. The only one that really did feel serious was Black Panther. And, you know, I believed that he was angry and out for revenge, like, for sure. So, yeah. Yeah, other than that, it just didn't feel real when they were fighting. I liked the whole, you know, action and choreography involved and all that. Like, that was cool. The actual scene itself was awesome, but at the end of the day, when, what's his name? Iron Patriot gets hurt, it's like, why are you guys mad? I didn't understand why they were so devastated, like, or when Iron Man got so devastated about that. It's like, you guys are fighting with, like, all these powers, and you're charging at each other with all you got, yet you don't expect anyone to get hurt? Like, I didn't get that. There was an inconsistency there. And, for me, it didn't make sense. But like I said, if anything, watch the movie for Spider-Man, Black Panther, and Ant-Man. Those three are my favorite. And, you know, what does that really say about the movie? The movie is Captain America, a Captain America movie. And the second main character is Iron Man. And when I don't care for those characters, and I want to see more of Spider-Man, and I want to see more of Black Panther and Ant-Man, those are side characters. Like, there's something wrong there. So, you know, it's fun, but it really wasn't my cup of tea. I could do without it. The airplane scene was awesome because of Spider-Man and Ant-Man. And again, Black Panther was pretty interesting throughout, but I don't know. I just saw a lot of flaws, but, you know, it's nothing to be taken so seriously. So I mean, if you're into superhero movies, definitely watch it, but don't expect, like, some grandiose film, you know? Like, it's not that. And, you know, there are definitely some really cool moments, but it's definitely not a perfect movie by any means. So, you know, and if you're thinking, wow, your FLAVA review sounds pretty in the middle, well, that's because it is. And that's why I'm giving it a 5 for my FLAVA review. A part of me is like, yeah, you know, it's fun. That airplane scene really was worth it. But then the other part of me is like, well, how come I didn't really care about much else, though? So I guess that I'll leave that up to you. And yeah. So, alright, now we're at our final rating, and taking the average of all the 3 categories, I have come down to a 6.17 for the movie, and I feel pretty comfortable with that, you know. Again, it's not the best Marvel movie at all, I don't think so, but it's definitely not the worst, let's be real. But yeah, it was fun, could have been better. Not much more to say about it, but anyways, yeah, thanks for sticking it out and listening to my huge review. I mean, these things always take a long time because I get so passionate. I start talking about everything and all my thoughts about it. So I hope you guys enjoy it. If not, just skip to a next video, to the unboxings or the comic hauls, you know. That's why I want more variety with my channel, so that, you know, if you're a movie fan, you'll like it. If you're a comic fan, you'll like it. If you just like collectibles and unboxings, you'll like it too. So yeah, anyways, if you liked this rating and this movie, then give me a like or subscribe or both. I don't hate it. Alright, y'all. Catch you later.